So welcome everyone to our final volunteer online training of 2024. It's PSIA Pathways to Certification with Charley Phalen. And welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us, Charley. And I'll turn it over to you. This should be interactive. If you want to turn on your cameras, that would be great. And take it away, Charley.
Yeah, I'd say, gang, turn on your cameras, open your mic or open your mic so you're not muted. Because this is going to be kind of the pathway to certification is kind of an open discussion. I don't know if you were in some of the Zoom clinics I did before, where it was like very much like me talking and you're putting your ski boot on without a liner in it, and we had some great discussion. So hopefully, if you weren't part of those, you've been able to watch the recordings. There's a lot of good information in the first two that I did. And Aaron, that's fine. You can listen. That's fine. That's totally great. For this one, it's probably going to be a lot shorter. The last ones I did were very much content based, and there was a lot of technical information. We covered a lot of cool information in those. This one is more kind of a question and answer type thing, but it's also a like a pathways to PSIA. So and how, like, my thought is I'll share like how I got my start with PSIA and what I did to get through the ranks and what it was like for me, and then we'll go into what it's currently like now, because there's been some big changes the last couple of years, and our perspective on that change, and and then what requirements are, like what are they looking for in skiing and teaching and all that stuff, and is it something that's within your in your wheelhouse this year, or is it something that maybe is in your wheelhouse next year, or things that you want to, like, if you want to go on that pathway, things that I can do to help facilitate, one, where you are on that pathway, and two, get you to where you want to be at the end of your pathway, like where your pathway is leading to. So with that being said, so my name's Charley. I'm originally actually from Santa Fe, New Mexico. Strong connection to that program, the ASP&M program. My mom helped start Challenge New Mexico, which was kind of the predecessor to the ASP&M program in different. Uh-oh, are you guys still there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, my computer just kind of went crazy for a second, which is not good. Let's come back. No, hold on. Having computer issues. It just decided to have all these like setting things. There we go. Okay, let's get back here. Host system, got it. Can you guys still see and hear me?
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, I don't know where you went, but there we go. Okay, we're back. Okay, sorry. Minor heart attack. Okay, so anyway, so Challenge New Mexico did a lot of cool things, and that was kind of my start. So I started as a volunteer instructor with the Challenge New Mexico, and then when I was 18, I went to Ski Santa Fe and became a ski instructor for their kids' ski school out of Chipmunk Corner. Right, did that for 4 years. In that time, I was able to get my level 1 and level 2 Alpine, non-adaptive. And then I moved to Colorado and finished pursuing education and certification. And, currently I'm on ed staff, obviously, for PSIA. I work for them. But at the same time, it's an expensive thing, and it's hard for volunteers, to do that, because PSA as a whole, unfortunately, is set up that they're promoting, and their marketing, their demographic is that full-time ski instructor that gets paid, that career ski instructor, and and they're doing it. The thing I like about it and I don't like about it is they're the only game in town. I wanted to get paid more. I had to go through PSI. I had to go through my certifications. Yes, the education that I got is phenomenal and my career is awesome because of it, but it's my career. It's not my side hobby. It's not, it's not what I do as a volunteer, right? So I think that's a demographic that's kind of been a hard thing for PSIA to kind of come to terms with as far as the adaptive side, because most of their demographic are, throwing a number out there, 80% might be more of a alpine skier demographic, which is that full-time pro or part-time paid pro that wants to, get paid a little more than 15, 20 bucks an hour, right? Now we don't do that, so we're doing it for the education, right? And to help the program being ASP&M and also the end user. The more certified people you have in your program, the better off the lessons are going to be, the more consistent the language is going to be. Like there's other things that go with it. The other thing that comes with it is coming from like Camille's side as far as like admin and like development and fundraising. If you can say, hey, my staff we have staff that's certified and backed, you're going to be, your grant funding is going to be, they're going to take a more serious look at it because you're certified. Like every lesson goes out with the certified ski pro. That's something that only a handful of ski areas can say for adaptive. Not every ski program has that. There's only a few. So that, that's kind of one leg up. So there are some cool educational pieces to this. What's cool about the level 1 process, PSA pathway level 1, level 2, level 3 is, yeah, you might get a shiny pin at the end of it that you put on your coat and you get these discounts that are cool. But what really makes it so special and so unique is the journey to get to that pin. What you're learning in your training, in your study sessions to achieve that knowledge, to better the end user being the students that you're working for, right? That's really what we're looking for. Backing the train up a little bit, adaptive used to not be part of PSIA. It used to be its own separate thing. It used to be the National Handicap Skiers Association. And there was their own certification. And they said, man, we're on skis. You're on skis. Like, why do we have these changes? Let's create these same, right? Like, why reinvent the wheel? So then they joined PSIA. And when they joined PSIA, as a whole, right? There was at the time there was 9 different divisions, right? Different sections of the country were divided up, and each division did their own thing. Like Eastern did their own thing, Central did their own thing, Rocky Mountain, which is the region we're in, did their own thing. And the thought was, man, like we have mountains, they have hills, they have ice, we have snow, like, and there's all these different environmental differences and terrain and steepness and access and all these demographics that came in. So what was really cool about that is it played towards the demographic. What wasn't cool about that is you could get like a level 1 certification in like the Eastern Division or a different region, and they'd be like, oh yeah, you're a level 1. And then they'd move to Santa Fe because Santa Fe is like the place to be and it's really cool, right? So they'd move to Santa Fe, be like, oh yeah, we're in Santa Fe now, we're going to go teach skiing. And they'd be like, oh yeah, you have your level 1. And they'd be like, oh dude, you don't know how to ski. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, right? Because there's different schools of thought. So a handful of years ago, PSIA decided, man, we need to collaborate. We need to all be on the same book, all using the same language. Skiing is skiing is skiing. Let's be the same. And so there's a big collaboration move. And so in the collaboration move, everyone started using the same material. Everyone started using the same language, which also meant that, like, and using the same movement patterns, the same tasks in exams and assessments. And what that led to, which is really nice, is, hey, I did it in New York, and now I'm moving to Santa Fe to retire, and I've got the same knowledge. And so there's this foundational knowledge of that level 1. Like, hey, you're a level 1. That means I know that you know this whole list of, criteria and credentials that accommodate that level 1, that bronze pin, which means I can put you on a certain lesson and not worry about it, right? Which is really cool. Okay. Adaptive used to have its own thing. So we used to just do adaptive. We said, oh, well, adaptive's kind of different. We don't want to be like, we don't want to be included because we're adaptive. We're not alpine, we're adaptive. And so we kind of like created our own pathway, which is great because we have different disciplines, right? You have bi-skis, sit skis, you have outrigger users, you have cognitive diagnoses, you have visual impairment, right? All these different user types that classes that fall underneath that adaptive category. Well, what ended up happening with the adaptive categories is, oh, well, we're going to do adaptive. So we did the adaptive certification with no alpine background. And what we discovered as what I discovered as a trainer and an educator is, man, these guys need to learn how to ski and learn how to ski and talk about skiing before they talk about adaptive, right? We got so focused on adaptive that we forgot, like, underneath the mono ski is a ski. Underneath the bi-ski is skis. Underneath the 3-trackers boot is a ski. Like, there are a lot of similarities that come across. And so, and then we had people, whether it was a paid program or volunteer programs, we had instructors coming in that didn't ski well or didn't have that technical knowledge, that we'd say on their feedback, hey, you passed at a level 1 in adaptive, but your next steps for continuing education is to go work with the ski school. Go learn how to ski. Go work on your technical skiing and your technical understanding. And that started to happen so much that we're like, dude, you know what? We just got to require it. So then it became like certain ski schools started requiring that you did your Alpine 1, and then you could go and, take your adaptive certification after that. Well, National PSIA came across with that. Like, dude, that's awesome. That's a great idea. Let's all be on the same page. Let's start with the same foundational knowledge. So now, unfortunately and fortunately, you have to attain your Alpine credentials before you get your adaptive credentials. Now, it's only for level 1. The cool thing about that, though, is everyone's going to have the same language. Everyone's going to have the same terminology. So your student that maybe they ski at Ski Santa Fe and they do the program every Saturday or Sunday for 8 weeks. But then, man, you know what? They got family that lives that has a condo, or they're doing a vacation to Breckenridge, for Christmas. Well, now they're going to come up and they're going to get the same language. And so it's not going to be like, oh, well, in Santa Fe, we could do this. And in Breckenridge, oh, no, we don't do that. We teach this way. So now everything's going to be the same, which is really cool. The other thing that this starts to promote, which I think is awesome, is it starts to promote collaboration between the adaptive program, which most adaptive programs are a separate nonprofit from the ski school, right? From the ski resort, right? And so what we want to do is we want to bridge that gap and collaborate, right? So what the Alpine 1 does as a requirement is it says, hey, we have trainers that can't train that Alpine. We have trainers that can train adaptive, but our trainers can't train Alpine. So it forces the directors and the powers to be to reach out to the Alpine Ski School and say, hey, we're going for Alpine level 1. Can you help us? And they'll be like, yeah, absolutely. Right. So it starts to get that collaboration. Nice thing about the collaboration is the trend used to be 1 in 6. 1 in 6 people has a disability. It's now turning down to 1 in 4 to 1 in 5 to 1 in 4, which means every group lesson that goes through the ski school, not talking about adaptive, that goes through the regular ski school at Ski Santa Fe, right? That means one person in that group at a minimum is going to have a challenge learning, whether it's physical, emotional, or cognitive, right? Now, if it's super cognitive and more complex, Ski Santa Fe may be able to put a second instructor on it, right? Or maybe able to like handpick the instructor. That's what I was. They're like, oh, Charlie can do adaptive, like he can do this person, right? However, not everyone is like that. Not everyone has that skill set. They don't have the opportunity. So that's where ASP&M can, and Ski Sammy be like, hey, you know what? We got this person. They came up in group lessons, and we need help. Is there a volunteer up here that can help us out? That can help facilitate that? Because we know adaptive, and they know alpine. So it's this nice collaboration. So I'm real big on like supporting this. Now the downfall, it's a big ask. It's 3-day commitment. That's just for the assessment, right? It's probably a couple of days of training before that. It is all in the beginner zone, right? So it's all on like green terrain. The other thing that I really like about this and being included is, what's the goal for adaptive ski programs like ASP&M and all these other programs across the country? It's inclusion. It's to be normal, right? So it'd be really against our turn to be like, oh, you know what? We're adaptive. We're gonna go over here and do our own thing. Whereas now we're being included. So now we're being part of, the general population that's coming up. That's going to, it's going to be teaching. And the other thing is, when we're teaching this, it's a ski. It's a body. Like there's so many more similarities than there are differences. So the more we understand that technical aspect of skiing, the better off we're going to be to translate that to adaptive disciplines and to our end user, which is our student. So if we have more knowledge, our program is going to be more successful. They're going to be more likely to get grants. They're going to be more, our students are going to be more likely to come to us. So they're, oh man, you can go out with this instructor. He's Alpine level 1 and adaptive level 1. He's great. He's got a ton of knowledge. Now they're going to come to you and be like, dude, this is the program to come to, right? So it just serves a lot of good, right? So with that being said, yes, PSIA is expensive. I'm not going to say that it's not, right? The first step to PSIA is becoming a member, right? So to become a member, you go online to the snowpros.org and find Rocky Mountain, right? And you type in Rocky Mountain, you say, become a member, join, and you pay dues, right? So your dues, there's 2 parts to your dues. Okay, part of your dues go to Rocky Mountain, which is the region we're in, and part of your dues go to national. And you're like, well, why do I have to pay national? National is what provides all the prints. They provide a lot of the books, the manuals. They also provide a lot of like the background admin stuff, but they also facilitate probably one of the greatest benefits of being a PSI member, the access to the pro deals. Now, I know that's not why we're all doing it, but 50% off skis is pretty sweet, right? And all your gear is pretty sweet. Not to mention, your lift ticket access. If you're coming up to Colorado or going to Taos, there's discounted lift tickets available from, 5% discount to, hey, we're going to give you a free lift ticket for the day, right? Cool. Okay. The other cool thing about it is, gang, how many of you we all teach. Kim, how much do you charge for your lessons through ASP&M? Like 2-hour lesson or your weekly program? Like what's it come down to, like a day for your lessons?
Well, we do it 2 different ways. The multi-week session is 6 lessons over 7 weeks, and the athletes, it's a 2-hour lesson that includes the lift ticket,
Yep.
instruction, and equipment, and it's $300 for the
For the
6
whole
lessons,
series.
so it's $50. The privates are $160.
Okay, $160 for a private. That's 2 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a 2-hour lesson. So this is how I break things down. It's like, when you think about it, it's actually really cool. Ski Santa Fe probably charges for their private lessons, right? They probably charge upward of between $500 and $1,000 for the day. Like I wouldn't be surprised if it's that. Okay, and you're not guaranteed to get somebody like me leading that. Okay, you could get Joe Schmo off the street leading that. Like, you're going to get a good instructor, but it's not going to be one of the best in the country. Okay. However, when you're a PSIA member, right, and you sign up for, once you sign up for the membership, you can access clinics and trainings. Now, those clinics and trainings, yes, they cost, between $200 and $300, I think. I'm not sure. But you get a lift ticket and you get guaranteed lessons, group lessons from one of the best in the country, from somebody who works for them. And the skiers that you go with they're gonna be good skiers. You're gonna learn a lot about skiing. That's a guarantee. And you're gonna have fun, right? So what other like industries like promote education like that where it's fun and it's super accessible? And if they also have a ton of scholarships available. So if you don't have the money or you are part-time, you can reach out and say, hey, I'm a volunteer organization, I'm a volunteer program. Like I want the education, but I can't afford it. Hey, we'll help you out. Okay. Which is really cool. If the big thing is ask. If you ask, they'll try to help you out. Okay. The other thing, and I'm just going to go out there and say this, a lot of volunteer programs, the people who volunteer are of the demographic where they're retired, right? And I'm just going to say like generalized. I know we're not all retired volunteers, right? But most of the people who can volunteer have free time. If they have free time, they're more likely to be more financially stable and secure than people who are not volunteering, who don't have time. Because if they have time to volunteer, like if they don't have time to volunteer, they're going to be working. They're going to be trying to get paid, right? So it's like, okay, cool. Like, and that's something where like, some of the ski programs, the nonprofits, some of them like, and this is more of a question for Kim and Camille, but some of them will pay for for part of your education. They'll scholarship it for you, right? To make it like, hey, you're going to commit to volunteering for us for 2 or 3 years. Sweet, we'll pay your dues or whatever and try to, I don't want to put like, words in Kim's mouth, but if you want to get certified, I would think Kim and ASP&M would do whatever they can within their program's ability to support that motivation. Now that might be access to training, that might be access to, hey, Zoom sessions like this, that might be there's lots of ways that can be interpreted, but that's something that I would think that ASP&M would do. Like, hey, you want to do this? How can we help to make that less of a speed bump for you, right? So with that being said, I'm going to go back to this PSIA, pathways to PSIA. So you get your Alpine level 1. It's 3 days. Your first day is, and if I get the order wrong, like I apologize. Right? But your 1 day is going to be movement analysis, where you're going out and you're watching skiers ski on the beginner zone, and you're just describing like, hey, this is what their upper body is doing. This is what their lower body is doing. This is what their ski is doing. Right? Cool. Right? So there's that. Okay. And you describe what you see. So that's the first day. Okay. Also included throughout is general skiing, right? They're going to try to like work on your skiing, and you have to be what's considered a level 6. So they want you to be able to ski like borderline easy bumps, right? So like by easy bumps, I mean like maybe that middle section of Thunderbird, right? So that like super flat section, not the top section where you get the steep entrance, but the section where you come around towards like Midland, but you cut through the trees, right? Or there's that catwalk. So from that catwalk to the other catwalk, it's pretty wide, bumps are pretty flat, right? And it's not even skiing, it's like surviving. If you can survive that run, you'd be pretty good at going for your level 1, for your skiing. Now there's other things they're going to want you to do. They're going to want you to do like some wedge turns and some parallel turns and all these different like silly ski tasks. And that's fine. The ski tasks they do, they break them down into 3 things: highlighted, applied, and blended. So your highlighted tasks are things that say, hey man, I want to watch and see how good you rotate your legs. So we're going to do a hockey stop. How do you hockey stop? Done. Cool. Sweet. Okay. The applied tasks are, maybe it's a wedge Christie, or a like open parallel skidded turn, right? So it's general skiing. And then you have your basic blended, which would be a wedge turn, kind of same thing, your parallel, right? Maybe a little bit of like a J turn to a carve, right? And they just want to see that you have some basic like understanding of like what good skiing is. Okay. So that's that. After that, so one day is MA, one day is skiing, and then you have one day which is dedicated to your teach. Okay. And in your teach, they just want to see that you're comfortable in front of people, that you're not like slurring your words, and you're kind of pro, and the accuracy of what you're trying to teach is somewhat accurate. Right. The best way that I think about for level 1, 2, and 3, level 1 is copy, level 2 is choose, and level 3 is create. So at level 1, what we want you to do is you've done some training and you've read the book, and you know like that, like what to look for a level like 1 through 4 skier, right? In that beginner zone, you kind of know what you could teach, and you say, okay, cool, like this is what it is, and you mama bird it back to us. Cool, you copied what you heard. That's a level 1. Okay. Now at level 2, it's going to be choose. So at level 2, what I want you to do is there's a couple of different options, and I want you to choose what would be the best one for that student. Cool. At level 3, I want you to create something out of the book, no one's heard of, that's pretty new, and at a high level. Going back to that level 1, level 1's beginner zone, so it's 1 through 4, right? So it's basically getting used to equipment, putting my equipment on, like first time user, okay? To initial sliding on snow, to simple direction changes on the carpet, to maybe riding and loading and unloading the chair and skiing that like easy street chair, okay, to maybe in your personal skiing, like maybe getting over to like maybe Midland, maybe like JC, but it's pretty, for your teach, that'd be pretty high end, because a level 4, which is somebody who can like make like basic direction changes and follow you, that would be too steep for them, correct? Like they'd be able to do that on easy street, but maybe like lower Broadway, if you take easy street and then you take the catwalk, like you take the right through the fence and you take the catwalk over to Broadway, like you're going to like Adventureland, right? You could go and like maybe they could do that lower section of Broadway, right? But that's pretty much it. Okay. You wouldn't be up on that like more advanced terrain for too long, because that gets into intermediate, that intermediate zone. So it's very basic. They are set up so level 1 kind of examiner, educator, insight. Level 1, if you're on the fence, the fence like on like passing or not passing, if you're on the fence, it goes to the candidate. So if you're on the fence, you're gonna get pushed over the fence to pass. Okay. At level 2, if you're on the fence, you're gonna get pushed over again to to pass. At level 3, one of the reasons we see a lot of people fail at level 3 is if you're on the fence, it goes to me, it goes to the process. It doesn't go to the candidate. The pass rate for most of our level 1s, I'm gonna say, is right around like 80 to 90%. It's pretty, if you read the books and have some good knowledge, you're gonna be pretty successful at it, right? You have some decent common sense. However, if you, it's not easy. Like you have to have some general skiing. And so my advice to you is go and like find like, you know, a certified person, a certified pro, and go for it. You'll find that a lot of even the paid ski pros, ski instructors at Ski Santa Fe, some of them have their level 1, some of them have their like maybe level 2. At the most, you might have, and I'm trying to think, I don't even know if you have more than 1 or 2 level 3s on the paid staff. Like I think it's mostly 1s and 2s. I know when I was there and I finished my 1, I like immediately started teaching like higher level kids. When I finished my 2, I was always on like level 7s and the level 8s because there wasn't very many people, you know, of that qualification. So, you know, to the fact that if you're looking into this, right, just even looking into it is cool because, you know, there was a crew a couple years ago, Camille and Jason and Doug and a whole crew that went through their level 1s, and you could probably see, and they've like maintained their CEUs and stuff, right? That there's a little bit of a knowledge base, like there's a knowledge, like their level of knowledge and like accuracy is probably a little more than some of the other volunteers, and they got that through the education, through the training, right? That's what's cool about it. Do they have their Alpine level 1? I don't know, because they were part of the old process. I think they just have their adaptive, which is fine. They got part of that. Now we're separating it out. So, so that's really nice. Outside of that, 3-day process, I think it's attainable by most people. I got it when I was 18 years old and not the smartest and just trying to figure it out. So I think most people, it's in their wheelhouse. I think the biggest thing is the training. So getting over to the ski school and talking about what a wedge is and what a wedge turn is and that kind of stuff. And I would say if you're interested in doing it this year, I would focus on just the Alpine level 1 and then look at the adaptive stuff next year, right? So that you're only doing like
So I have to, it's for the, whatchamacallit, the skiing thing.
Oh,
I need to do a training day, so I have to listen.
Yeah, and that's the hard thing, you know, and that's why it's kind of like I have a love-hate relationship with PSI because of that, because like you guys, like you much rather be, and I don't blame you, you know, giving back to your student, right? So that comes back to maybe it's something where, you know, there's volunteers that can take your student like for 1 day or 2 days, and you know, and you go out and train that day with a group of people, or maybe you come up on Sunday and it's not, you know, lessons on Saturday. And I know it's a big ask. That's why this is a very like hard and delicate conversation to have, because again, like there's not a difference like in the product that we're putting out there from volunteer to pro to like paid culture, but there's a difference in, man, I'm not getting paid for this. I'm doing it because I love the student and I love seeing their process, and that relationship has been built. So to break that relationship is a big ask. And that's something that I don't have the answer for. I wish I could. I wish I said, hey, you know what? Come up on your days off and do that. But that's a big ask again. Like, I think you have to just, you know, decide what your what your priorities are. And, you know, if you think this is something that, that you want to pursue to make it better, like, you know, there's going to be sacrifices you might have to make now to become a better instructor for the participant you care about later. Does that kind of help you, Michael? Not really. Sorry. What are other people thinking? I've talked a lot. So you have my like background experience. What are some things that randomly that like interest you in PSIA, or things that are like major roadblocks?
So Charlie, I'm happy to talk to this. And been with the adaptive program about 10 years or so.
Yeah.
It was 2 years ago that I actually was working in the, I'm now retired, so I actually have time, like you were just talking about before. But I worked with one of the other instructors in the adaptive program who'd been certified Alpine 1. And this is someone else who, like me, had a career in education. And what I saw was a skill set that I lacked in her teaching. And I talked to this person for quite some time. And last year I took and passed the Alpine level 1. And just like you said, I mean, I would tell people it is a non-trifling financial and time commitment. But on the other hand, anything good is that as well. So I'm also working at getting up to my what's called C1 German, and I probably spend about 5 hours a week speaking German, and reading and writing, and it's the only way you get better at something. And skiing is very much like that. And to work with good people to get, meaning, i.e., to get good instruction, it's a time commitment. I personally felt like the bump that I got in my understanding of skiing, the bump that I got in terms of understanding operations at Ski Santa Fe, and I have no interest in having a job at this point. I was just looking to do this to get better, develop a skill set that I recognized I was lacking. It was worth it. And I will also say, if people are thinking about doing this, keep your costs down. So do the training at Santa Fe, or any of the places in New Mexico that PSIA comes, because that's also non-trifling. If you want to at first I thought, oh, I'll just go up to Breck and to do the level 1 course up there, because I'd like to ski up there. And then you start throwing in things like housing and all that, and travel, and that stuff starts to add up on top of the time commitment. So I did it at Santa Fe. I live in Albuquerque most of the year, and for me, traveling up there 3 days in a row is a bit of a stress, but I was more than worth it. It was just, I felt like I just learned a ton. I was less worried about that. The perks and all that sort of stuff are really pretty nice. But it's really what you talked about in terms of this. I thought you did a good job of summarizing what happens in level 1. But I mean, the unspoken parts to me were like, I got to know people who actually work in operations at the ski area, and people who are trying to make a living at teaching skiing, and that part to me meant a lot. I thought the only problem thing that I would, if I was going to be critical here, I would say is there was, to me, less emphasis on what I'm interested in, which is how do you help people with a disability work with their disability, whatever that may be. Meaning, how do you teach all types? And I just thought I have much more of that from my own professional career than I got out of this. But what can you expect in 3 days? The movement analysis part was so incredibly helpful. I mean, it's like when I still do some volunteer teaching stuff, and I feel like the biggest thing I do is help the students see what I see. And that's what this instructor and the other people did. And all of a sudden it was like the pieces just sort of fell into place. And that part was super rewarding. And like, I'll stop talking in a second here, but like any other skill set that you're trying to build, nothing beats practice. And people may roll their eyes if they're not in a profession that has requirements for like CME or CE or stuff like that. But this stuff does. And those behavioral tune-ups like that, I think are helpful from the standpoint of you work with other instructors, you learn new stuff. You maybe go to another place and learn how the operations work and how and the other students also bring a host of, in my opinion, really nice observational communication type skills that you can. I mean, I was always a fan in my research and everything else of you don't have to, there's some things you have to invent, but a lot of things you can just borrow and adapt. And that part I thought was just incredibly helpful. I'm lucky enough that I could afford to do all this stuff. I wish there was some way to incentivize people in the adaptive program to take this on. I mean, I have my own thoughts about this if people in the program ever want to know, because I think there's ways to do this sort of stuff. Because yeah, if you are in the midst of your career and you're trying to develop your career stuff, and it's not in the ski business, and then you're trying to add in a new skill set like this, how do you manage time and the commitments involved for that?
You know, I think something that Robert, that you mentioned, which is really cool, is like what you learned. And yes, there wasn't any adaptive in your Alpine level 1. There wasn't, and I know there wasn't.
Yeah, but it was already here for me.
Well, because it was an Alpine level 1, and so the thought was that okay, and when we developed this whole collaboration, one of the thoughts was, hey, like instead of throwing like curveballs of autism and missing a leg and being in a wheelchair and all these different like challenges, right? Let's focus on the foundation first. Understand how the body moves, understand how the ski to snow interaction reacts to that body movement, and how you facilitate that and connect that to the people you're trying to teach how to ski. Right?
Yeah.
That's what the Alpine level 1 does.
Yeah.
Is it creates that. And then you can say, okay, no, cool. Now that I have that base foundation, let's throw a curveball and let's miss a leg. Okay, cool. So let's talk about missing a leg. Well, how does your body move when you're missing a leg? There are some similarities, but there are also some differences. There are some equipment differences that we have to account for and some diagnosis stuff. And that's what you get in the adaptive. But to start, like, and I'm guilty, like, I think you have to have a higher level of Alpine, background and operation understanding to say, hey, like, yeah, this is how my body moves, but this is how I create the same ski to snow interaction sitting down. Right. So I think there's that like complex level. And one of the nice things is PSIA was one of the first ones that recently and if you had a chance to listen to my other Zooms for you guys, there's some great information in there for sure. If you got them live, that's even better. If you didn't, they're recorded. Ask Kim or Camille to get access to those. They will help you in this, right? But one of the things that PSI did was we were one of the first organizations to separate teaching skills from people skills, saying that, hey, I can be a good teacher and I can understand the learning environment and connect the student to the learning environment. That's really cool. I'm good at that. Okay. But then the other part of that is, hey, there's this people skill side of things that says, hey, I understand and I can build relationships and communicate and understand behavior of people, right? And the great example of that is we've all had that instructor, right, who was a really, really knowledgeable in the subject they were trying to teach us, but they had the driest monotone, like most boring, no anything, no animations, nothing, and they made it super boring, right? Now, if we came into this Zoom and I had the same thing and I said, okay, gang, we're going to learn about PSIA. PSIA stands for Professional Ski Instructors of America. They're paid. And I stayed monotone, you would not be engaged in this, right? And now, yes, it's really hard to be engaged through a computer screen. I get it, right? But I think we're doing a pretty good job, right? And that's one of the things that PSI did was they separated the people skills from the teaching skills. And just in that separation, they were years ahead of certain aspects of the education community, because teachers, right? I'm going to pick on teachers. My dad's a teacher, right? My mom was a teacher, right? I'm going to pick on teachers because I can. I'm an instructor. I'm teach skiing. I teach. But your teachers who are good versus your teachers who are bad, like I said, they might have been like super, like the most knowledgeable on that subject, but they didn't relate it to you. They didn't say, hey, Charlie, how do you learn? Oh, you learn this way? Cool. Let's change things up. This is how I'm going to present it for you, right? They didn't make it you. They didn't make it Robert. They didn't make it Kim. They didn't make it Michael or Alex. They just said, hey, gang, this is the label, and you're all going to fit under this label, and this is the information I need you to know. Go through the list, right? Whereas your teachers who are really good, they created a relationship with you. They created a bond. They created trust. They shared things with you, right? That's something that you're going to learn in that Alpine level 1, is how to create and build those relationships so that, you know, the goal is to create a passion for skiing and learning. Now, if I'm not like, we all love to ski. That's great. I want to get that in my students. So, you know, the more that I can relate to them and what they're motivated and what their behavior patterns are, the better. PSI was one of the first organizations to do that. That's kind of cool. You know where that came from? That came from adaptive. It didn't come from Alpine. It came from adaptive. We said, hey, you're in a wheelchair. You can't stand up and ski. Sweet. Let's put a chair on skis and see what happens. Point you down a hill, see if you have a good time. That's relating to your guests, like from the get-go. We've done it. You guys have that. So even though you're going for your Alpine level 1, you may lack some of the technical knowledge and the ski ability that they're looking for, but the ability to relate it to your guests, the ability for you to teach some of that stuff, even though it's not adaptive, you're already there. And if you learn more about the 5 fundamentals and how the body moves and the teaching skills fundamentals and the people skills fundamentals, and you spend 3 days in them, and then you start applying these to your lessons, oh dude, like your students are going to be so stoked. And then other instructors can be like, Robert, man, you did this with this person, like that was awesome. What'd you do? Be like, oh, well, I did this, and this, and we did this. That all comes from that training to become a better person, to become a better instructor, to make your student that much better. Yes, it does take sacrifice. I get it, right? Part of our job is, if there are speed bumps that get in the way, is to try to say, hey, what can I do to make that speed bump smaller? How can I help you achieve this so that and I'm going to say this, I say this at all my clinics, and I apologize, like I care about the end user. I care about the student. Yes, I care about you guys, right? But really, I'm here to train you guys and to help you guys learn so that the end user, being the student, has a better time, has a better experience. That we create that passion in them because we've created that passion in ourselves. That's what it's all about. Does that kind of help? And any other comments, concerns, questions on anything we've talked about or something we haven't talked about too? It's cool.
Charlie, I wanted to just fill in a little bit about the way that there are just a couple things I wanted to add. One is that the recordings for these Zoom sessions are on the volunteer page of our website. So what Charlie's referring to, mostly is the PSIA fundamentals. I think that's mostly what you're referring to, and that is on the website. So it's accessible to all of you, to anyone. And then as far as the way that ASP&M is supporting our volunteers right now to get their PSIA level 1 is having these sessions, I want to let you all know that there is a Alpine level 1 examination at Ski Santa Fe March 4th through 6th of this year. And it's currently full, but I spoke with the Rocky Mountain office and they said that if we do get up to 6 people on the wait list for that they may send another examiner or set a separate date, just depending on their scheduling with examiners. So that's something that's possible this year. And in addition to that, we have an amazing friend, colleague, volunteer at ASP&M named Larry Bear, who has offered to do some specific training days or afternoons, however we work it out, to prepare you all for the exam. So I think that's a lot of support, actually. And then also on the call is Erin Farrell, who has also offered to, she's also, I think, Erin, are you level 3 or I think you're at least level 2. Anyway, she's offered to do some training for volunteers to prepare them for level 1 as well. So it's all available to you.
And I would say, gang, I'm gonna offer the same thing. Like I come down, my dad still lives in Santa Fe, right? I love coming down. I'm gonna be in New Mexico. Kim, I didn't tell you this. I'm gonna be in New Mexico for the right around Valentine's Day, and I might have a day or two free that I could shoot up. I'll email you the dates that I might have been able to do some stuff for you guys, but there's some potential there. I don't know if it's going to be a weekend or a weekday, but you know, my thing is I want to support you guys. Like, use me as a resource. I'm probably one of your more experienced resources you have. Use me, like, you know, not just in the Zoom sessions, but like, you know, if you have questions about anything, don't call me. Send me an email. Send me a text. You know, if I don't have the answer, I'll find out the answer. That's one of the things that I really like about what I do. And Ski Santa Fe, obviously, like it's a very close, and New Mexico is very close to me. That's where I got my start. That's where the adaptive in me started. That's where I got my alpine start. Like, I love Santa Fe and Ski Santa Fe. So fully supportive. Alex, you mentioned what about snowboard level 1? So snowboard level 1, they usually do one at Ski Santa Fe as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they do one that same time frame, or like the end of March. However, it's just look on the schedule and see what it's about. It's going to be the same requirement. So from snowboard to alpine, it's the same 3 days. The downfall with the snowboarding is there's a little bit more of a freestyle element that you have to go. So there'll be some basic switch riding. There'll be like, I think you have to do maybe like a flat spin 3, like just on flat ground, like just like spinning on the snow. I think you have to do like an ollie or an ollie just like on a catwalk, just so there's a pressure change. Pretty basic stuff. But there is a freestyle element. So if you're not comfortable on the freestyle side, you maybe want to look into that. And same thing, all this information is all, I was going to do this, like pull up the website, do a screen share, but I thought, nope, I'm going to talk about it. It'll be better. But all this information is available on the PSIA Rocky Mountain website. You just go to education and you click on it, and I'm pretty sure you don't even have to be a member. You can just access like what some of the education is. Now, if you do have to be a member, sorry, you have to be a member. I'm not so familiar with every region's pathway, but all the information is there. And if you have questions about information or finding it, they're great. Call them. They're more than happy to help you out. They're
The local people too. I dug up at Santa Fe, I think has a snowboard level 1 and 2, and he's worth talking to about what his experience was like and help you sort of mentally get prepared for things like that. And
That's
Tim,
great. Yeah, I'm
I-
super passionate about it. I've been snowboarding for 20 years and I know I'm going to learn something about I didn't know before, right? And ultimately I want to get to the adaptive program because that's where I find the most reward. I get to take care of my father who has Alzheimer's. So whatever I need to do to get, and I just signed up. I actually just became a member. So I'm looking at their free courses and I see there's like a certification pathway. So it seems like there's a lot of like free stuff that's available to you right away. That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's some really cool. So for you, Alex, since you signed up, there's some really cool e-learning courses
Do
that
that.
are
Yeah.
on. They're great, and and that's just like the start, and then it just like yes, a lot of the products do cost money, and it's a pretty penny, but again, for what you're getting, information that was created by people like me that have
Right.
done it for 30 years, that we all collaborate. We actually all collaborate every couple times a year. And we're like, okay, cool. Like, this is it. Like, this is what we need to
Curated,
do.
but you're saying you get the language is what I'm going to take away, right? And what Robert was saying earlier, I want to respond to is, you know what? The challenge that I have is that I am fully employed. I'm taking care of someone at home. The time, like to volunteer and all this
Absolutely.
stuff. It's even just getting here on time was hard for me tonight, right? So, but I think it's a lifetime kind of a thing. I definitely want to be setting myself up for a future. So,
Something that you could do, because correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't the ASP&M program, do they take some weekends off, and they don't go the whole season, right? Like that 8-week program finishes like the end of February, maybe first week or two of March.
First week of March, yeah.
So first week of March. So then you have like, not ideally, but you have like a couple weeks after that on snow.
Yep.
And a lot of your learning can, as you'll see, can be done on a computer, right? Like learning through
that
the
works.
material.
Yeah, that's good
If
for me.
you have like decent snowboarding experience and or ski experience, and you're like, okay, cool, I do all right. You start looking at some of this information, and then you start like what I like to do is reflect. So it's like, okay, cool, like this was the information I read. Like, how does that apply to myself? You're like, cool, okay, like cool, I'm gonna apply that to like when I'm snowboarding, I'm gonna try to do more tilting or whatever. And then you're like, man, how can I teach that to my student? Cool. Just that process alone will get you to that level 1. Just that like critical thinking process and the ability to apply, like, oh well, man, I can't do that. I haven't done that. Like, let me go try it. And just like you said, it's that one thing, like that one thing that it might be one thing that will change the way you ride, and it'll open up like so much more opportunity, not just like, for teaching, but on the mountain and all these different things. So there's a
Cool.
lot of potential there. And again, yes, it is expensive, but if you look at it from an educational standpoint, with the lift ticket and one of the like better trainers in the country, like
It's a good deal.
Yeah, and this is
it's
the first you're
incredibly-
talking about like gear, how getting discounts on gear. I didn't even know that, by the way, but that sounds great. Yeah. So
yeah, there's
Charlie,
a lot
the
of
other, one thing you
What,
haven't
Robert?
said that I thought was really one thing you haven't said that I thought was helpful when I did this was that the instructor actually had a video recording of us, and we actually spent time at the like at the end of each day or even at lunchtime going over those video recordings, because it's one thing to try to copy what the instructor's doing. It's another thing to see yourself and have the instructor then teach you or help you talk through what little sort of tweaks you can make to what you're doing. And I'm talking about your skiing or your boarding or what, or whatever, if you're doing cross country or any of those other things that they do. But that's really helpful. That in my profession, that's what we did with people is we recorded what they were doing. And a lot of times did live supervision, but it's also recording people and helping them sort of process what it is they think they did versus what they did when you can sit there and sort of analyze it. I personally found that also incredibly helpful, not just selfishly for my own skiing, but for particularly the movement analysis part of things that I felt like was my big learning experience.
Yeah, and that's something. It's Robert, and you hit the nail on the head. It's kind of like hearing your voice for the first time. It's like, what? That's what I sound like? Like, whoa, I didn't think I skied like that, but oh man, okay, I got some things to do, right? But what's really cool, and like every facilitator, every educator is gonna have like a different spin on things. Like that's just how it is. But something that like personally is like for me that I try to do as an educator and a trainer of educators is I could dictate to you all night about, hey, this is this, this is this, this is this, right? But you're gonna learn more by experiencing it, by feeling it, by doing it, than me telling you how to do it or how it feels. Right. So by doing movement analysis on yourself, like, yeah, that's great because you're facilitating your own pathway, right? Which is awesome. So yeah, and in movement analysis, I do it with all my students. I carry a GoPro with me in my pocket. I have WhatsApp on my phone. Like, yeah, let's get it out there. Cool. What do you see? What can change? But that all comes back, and I'm trying to bring this back. That all comes back to alpine fundamentals, right? Like, hey, is your ski being tipped? Is it being rotated? Could it be rotated better? Could it be done from a different body part? That's all the stuff that you're gonna learn in the training and up to and in the 3 to 8 level 1 assessment process. Absolutely.
So Kim, I will just say it's nice to hear that the program's trying to steer things in this direction. That's like a new addition, it seems like, in the last couple of years here, and at least from my perspective, much appreciated. And frankly, these offers like Charley's made or that other people in the program are making to, like, as I would say, ski for an hour or two with somebody who is certified and understands some of the principles that you'll get tested on and have to demonstrate, because you're not tested on the last day of Alpine 1 or 2. You're tested every morning, every afternoon. There's some other thing going on that you're getting feedback about, and yeah, you have chances to correct that stuff. But I think to help people get mentally and emotionally sort of prepared for it, I think is a real generous offer on the program's part, and I hope incentivizes people to do that. I think it's the kind of stuff that makes us all better.
And I don't think it's gonna like, yes, most people aren't gonna leave Ski Santa Fe and the ASP&M program. However, right, something that's cool is if you do choose to like, hey, I'm done being, in the cold Santa Fe, which is not snowy and cold like it used to be, right? But I want to go move to, Florida or Arizona or, oh man, I really like the skiing thing. I want to move up to Pagosa or, or Breckenridge. Like the certification goes with you. Like it's not, the knowledge you gain goes with you. You'll have it forever. You can apply it to your own skiing. You apply it to your grandkids skiing. You apply it to teaching adaptive skiing. But you can also like the teaching skills that you learn, the skiing skills, the movement analysis you learn, the people skills you learn, that applies like life. Those are life skills, not just skills that are utilized in teaching skiing. And that's, I think that's one of the cool things. If you go to do a different job or man, you're like, man, I really like the skiing thing. I want to pursue it. If you go up to Ski Santa Fe and say, hey, I've got a level 1, like I'm sick of my office job. I don't want to get paid very well. I want to go and, teach skiing, Monday through Friday and hang out in Chipmunk Corner and pick up little 4-year-olds or whatever it is, right? Like the certification travels, it goes with you. You'll find benefits of it in life, not just in ASP&M, not just in the lessons you teach.
Charley, would you enlighten us a little bit? I know there's been a lot of changes and they're probably still in process, but just talk about the adaptive certification and how that works.
Yeah, so the adaptive certification, it used to be a functional ski day. So you'd go ski with me or like whoever your educator was, and we'd take you through some like what I call like stupid human tricks, right? It's like stupid things we do on skis, right? That make it so that we can, tether and seat assist behind a bike ski, or our 3-track, or our guided person, down a run, right? So there's different tasks that we used to do. So you'd have your functional ski day, which was a list of I think 19 different tasks that we'd pull from randomly. And then outside of that, your next, so you have to pass your functional skiing, which is like level 6-ish skiing, a little higher than level 1, right? But we wanted you where you're holding a biski, that makes sense to us. You should have a higher skill set, right? So we do that, and then after you pass that, you could have one of 3 days. So you could sign up for VI Cog, 3-4-track slider, or bi-mono. And so VI Cog is what most people did first. So it's your cognitive diagnoses and your visual impairment guiding. So VI guiding and diagnoses, medications, that kind of stuff through level 4. And then cognitive diagnoses the same way. Your autism spectrum, your trisomy 21, your Parkinson's, your traumatic brain injuries, your PTSD, right? All that kind of stuff. So we're going to talk about that one first, your COG VI. And so all the exams have a similar layout. So, and this is how it still is to this day. So we got rid of the functional skiing and required the Alpine level 1, right? And now that was a national thing. That wasn't a Rocky decision. That came down from national. We're doing it. Right? So then you do your level 1 in, let's say, VI Cog. So your level 1 in VI Cog would consist of you walk into a room at 7:30, 7:45 in the morning. There's a little, probably more like 8:30, 8:45. So it's more a little later. And they'll be set up in the room. There'll be a projector and a computer screen. And as you come in, you don't have to have your ski boots on. You'll come in, the educator will greet you, make sure that you're in the right spot, make sure that you have a lift ticket, that kind of stuff. Ask you if you have any questions, that's the time to ask them. You will come in, and that's, so you'll come in, but before you go to the on snow day, you have to pass an online test at I think it's 80%, 85%. So you pass the online test, which is if you're doing VI Cog, it's only in visual impairment and cognitive. So you're not going to get asked questions like, what's a spinal cord injury? Because again, that's a different day. So the diagnosing medication side of things would only be on visual impairments and cognitive. And all the questions are at a basic level, elementary level of knowledge. So we're not looking for you to have they have, for example, they have Down syndrome, right? So they have Down syndrome, and you know the side of some of the symptoms of Down syndrome. That's good. That's all you need. You don't need to know that it's that the more complexities of that diagnosis or the medications that come along with that. You just need to know the basics. Okay. So you do that, and half the questions are like ski centric, and half the questions are diagnosing medication centric. Right? So there's a split. Okay. So you take that online test usually a couple days before. Pass that, and then you get to check. Yep, you can show up to the on snow. You show up to the on snow event. That test is also open book. Okay, and by open book, I mean open book and phone a friend. Right, there could be a buddy right there next to the computer to help you. Oh man, I don't know the answer, and you can do it. It is timed, however, so be aware that it is a timed test. It will close out when the time ends, and if there's not a lot of questions, but if you haven't reached all the questions, it's still going to give you a score. If you fail, you can take a day, right? And you can retake that test again. Okay, there is a retake on that online test. However, there's only 2. You only get 2 tries. If you don't get it on the first try, you study up. You better get it on the second try. Okay? If you do need a third try, you can call the office and be like, hey, I need a third try. And they'll be like, well, we're going to give it to you or not going to give it to you. Usually they don't, saying, hey, you tried it twice, you didn't do it, you need to restudy. Now, usually if that's the case and you haven't passed the online portion and you've already paid for the on-snow portion, they will hold that for you to retake and do, like, put it towards next year, or they'll refund your money back and be like, hey, like, you failed the online portion, you can't make the on-snow portion. So, you know, that's not the case, but that's something you just talk to the office about. So then you show up for your on-snow day, there's a computer there, you see me there, I say, hey, how's it going? You have any questions? No, okay, we're good. Okay, just relax, grab a seat. We're waiting for everyone to show up. Once everyone shows up, I'm gonna have a chat and I'm gonna say, hey, gang, we're gonna do our movement analysis. You're here for COG VI. You're gonna watch a video. The video is gonna play an interview, and then it's gonna play the skiing. And the interview is like 30 seconds, or maybe like a couple minutes, depending on the video. Okay, so in the interview, there's an educator talking and interviewing the participant that you're going to be watching skiing. So that's when you look at, like, the diagnoses, you learn about who they are, what their goals are, that kind of stuff, right? And then you're going to watch, then there's going to be a blank, and you can write down all your notes that you learned about from the interview. And then the skiing will play. The skiing is typically about 30 seconds. And it's within that discipline. So if it's VI, you're gonna watch a VI skier. Could be a cognitive skier as well. So you're gonna watch them, and you're gonna pick one skill, one fundamental of the 5, and you're gonna describe a upper body movement compared to a lower body movement, and what the ski is doing in one phase of the turn. That's it. Now, if you go a little bit more, that's great, right? But we tend to do, what I tend to ask them to do, for me, is I tend to ask them to do one fundamental through all 3 phases of the turn, just so that there's some carryover. So you're going to talk about the initiation shaping, the initiation part of the turn, the shaping phase of the turn, and the finish phase of the turn. Okay. Cool. You do that. So you write down your notes of what you saw, the ski doing, the body doing, through rotation at the initiation, the shaping, and the finish phase of the turn. You write, hey, this is what they could be doing better. They could be rotating their legs instead of their upper body. Sweet, right? The way I'm going to get them to do that is I'm going to do this static, simple, complex drill. Done, right? So I'm going to come up with those drills. We're going to do that. And you're going to have that conversation. So you watch the video, you watch the interview, it blanks, you write down your notes, you watch the skiing, you write down your notes after the skiing. We'll give you like 5 minutes or so to write down all your notes, and then we'll play it again. But the second time we play it, we may or may not play the interview, but we will play the skiing. We're only going to play the skiing twice, max. We don't do it more than that. It's twice. Play the skiing again. So that's where you can, like, confirm your validation. So the first time you watch it, okay, I saw this. The second time, like, cool. Yep, they're doing what I saw. Yep, what I decided, that would change their skiing. Yep, cool, got it. You're gonna put your name on your piece of paper. After that, you're gonna have a one-on-one conversation at some point with the examiner about your MA. Less than 5 minutes. I'm going to ask you, hey, what'd you get out of the interview? Oh, I got this, 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 and this. And I might ask you a little more about the diagnosis, that kind of stuff. And then you're going to say, okay, what about the skiing? Oh, I chose this skill and I saw the body do this, which caused the ski to do this, which they did this, and so on, right? Done, check, less than 5 minutes. Okay. After that, you're going to go out in the morning and you're going to do your, what we call your assistant, your assists. Right, so for COG VI, it's going to be stand-up tethering. So you're going to do some stand-up tethering, maybe some 2-point holds, And then maybe some loading and unloading of the chairlift, right? Maybe some bamboo stuff, right? But then you're also going to be doing some guiding. You're going to be guiding from 1 to 2 places. So it might be from the side, it might be from the back, it might be from the front. But we want to see you guiding from at least 1 to 2 locations in the morning. That's the morning. Check, done. Okay. In the afternoon, you're doing your teaches. So you get a break for lunch. You can hang out with me, but I usually like do my own thing and like talk to my phone and write a bunch of notes. Right. So then after that, you get handed your teaches. So your teaches are a random teach, and you get a scenario. Okay. The scenario includes a diagnosis, age of the student, like a little student profile, and then it also includes a motivation, what the student's trying to learn, and that's pretty much it, and a skier level, right, and a goal. So then we say, hey, okay, here's a chairlift ride. Here's your teach. Kim, you're going to teach next. Here's your teach. And Kim chooses her thing. She reads about it. She goes up on the chair. She can go up on the chair with her friends. That's fine. And she can like kind of like decide to like ask her friends and like, are they valid? Like, do I trust their information that they're giving me? Are they going to help me? Or is it going to hinder me? And that's kind of your own judgment, right? So then at the top, you're going to get a teach. And your teach is going to be 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. Okay. And in that 15 to 20 minute teach, I started you at the top of the run. I expect that you're going to move me to the bottom of the run. Okay. Now, my advice to you in the exam, don't tell me how you teach. Show me how you teach. Okay. If you have 15 minutes and you only move 20 feet because you are so busy telling me about it, that's not going to go well for you. I'm a skier. I like to ski. I like to move. Moves the group. Downs the hill, right? So show us how you teach. Don't tell us. Show us what you're doing. If we have questions, we'll ask you. It's that simple. Yeah, so then you're gonna move the group, you're gonna ski the group for like 15, 20 minutes, right? You're gonna stop in different locations, and I'll be like, oh man, okay, they stopped here, that was a good spot, or oh man, this student, like maybe they didn't pick up on that, and right, and there'll be some things. And then you'll have a chat with your educator. It might be on a chairlift, it might be at the bottom of the hill. You'll have a little chat with your educator one-on-one, and that's where I'm gonna ask you some questions. Like, hey, why'd you choose this? Why'd you do this? Why'd you do this? Right. And that's just to get a little more knowledge out of you, just see where you're at in your knowledge ability. Now, once everyone's done their teach, all 6 people, probably be about 3:30 at the latest. I've only gone to like 3:30 once, I think. Right. So you go till 3:30. We will then hit the pavement. I'll say, hey, look for an email from me in about an hour and a half. I'm going to go into a room and I'm going to type up a bunch of notes, and you'll see an email from me. Okay. Now, after in that email or before that email, I'll say, hey, if you want to stick around and have a chat about your results in person, we're going to do the results at 4 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock at somewhat location, right? Okay. And then you'll get the email and you'll be like, okay, cool. Like I passed or failed. And then you can come and chat with us. If you do get a pin, that's when you'll get your pin and a little certificate that says, you know, you passed your like certified level 1. And cool. And the pin you get is actually cool. It does say adaptive on it. So it is a different pin than your Alpine pin. Your Alpine pin just says PSIA. Your adaptive pin says PSI, and then on the top of it says adaptive. Okay. Level 1 is bronze, level 2 is silver, level 3 is gold. And that's it. That's the process. Now, once you have your VI cog, people are like, oh, well, do I have to get my 3/4 track and my bi-ski monoski at level 1? No, you don't. You go straight to the level 2 process. So once you get your Alpine 1, and then you have your adaptive level 1, you don't have to do any of the other disciplines at level 1. you go straight to level 2 and you can do level 2 and you don't have to do Alpine again. You could do your VI cog level 2. You have to do that again, right? Because it's you only pass the level 1. But then you can do your 3/4 track at a level 2, and you can do your bi-mono ski at a level 2. So that's something that's really cool, is that by going with the Alpine one first, it gives us the opportunity as adaptive educators and assessors to primarily focus on adaptive and not have to worry about the ski side. Does that, and Alex, the snowboard is the same. It's pretty similar. It's going to run pretty much in line. There might not be as much video, but there's going to be like a day, there'll be some riding, there'll be some guiding, and then there'll be a teach that you do in the afternoon. Does that help answer your question, Kim, a little bit? Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, that was awesome. Then I'm just wondering if you have your level 2 in Alpine, do you go straight to level 2 in adaptive, or you start at level 1 in adaptive?
No, you start at level 1 and 2. If you have your Alpine 2, you have to start at level 1 adaptive. That's just how it is. Because it's 2 different processes.
So I know there've been a lot of changes. Is the new changes that you can just follow one track, like you don't have to?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I will make sure. Sorry, I'm pausing.
Sorry.
Time out. Yes,
Continue. Bye.
yes, I will do that.
Carry on.
Yep.
And the lights.
Yep.
Everything else is blocked.
Absolutely. Sorry about that, gang. I'm in the Vail adaptive shed, so I got to make sure that everything closes and locks up correctly when I leave tonight. Yeah, so the Alpine is its own separate track, and the adaptive is its own separate track. Now okay, so I'm gonna take this back. So to go for your adaptive level 1, you have to have your Alpine level 1. Right? So then you can go through, once you have that, you could go VI cog level 1 and then VI cog level 2 and not go for your full certification. You just be a level 2 specialist in VI cog. However, if you want to be a fully certified Alpine adaptive level 2 person, you have to do your Alpine level 2 certain days. I think you have to do the ski day, mostly the ski day and the tech day. So your ski day and your MA day, and not the teach day, because teaching doesn't change. And then you have to do all 3 modules, VI cog, 3/4 track by mono at that level 2 intermediate zone. So that's kind of, they let you do the Alpine first for level 1. They let you do the Alpine second for level 2, just because it's just a higher level of knowledge. And some people maybe just want their Alpine level 1 to access the adaptive stuff, and that's fine. You know, you don't have to be a fully certified person to teach adaptive. Absolutely not. There's not many of us that are fully certified to teach Alpine and adaptive. Yeah. Any other? And if you want, there's a flow chart on the Rocky Mountain site that kind of explains this, but not really. But that's kind of the basic idea is. So if you have questions, I guess what I'm saying, if you have questions, look at the Rocky Mountain website. They've got a ton of answers. I just haven't had time because I work like 7 days a week and 5 nights a week. Any other like questions, comments, concerns? Real quick on PSIA stuff.
think I'm good. I'm just gonna check out some of those free courses, the online stuff, and figure out when I can sign up for the snow lesson. Yeah.
Yeah, and it might be Alex, it might be one of those things where some of them have already been scheduled this year, so you
Right.
might have to do it next year.
Sure.
But the process is at least going now.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. And Kim, I'll send you the dates that I have available. I'm going to be in Angel Fire like middle of February in like 2 weeks. And so I'll send you some of the dates that I have around that. And, if we get a group that wants to go out and do a, on snow session or whatever, like we'll figure it out. It's fine. Like totally doable. Plus I'd get to hang out with my dad, which is always, always a bonus. Unfortunately, Alex, for you, like I have my full cert snowboard and adaptive, but there's not a lot of adaptive snowboard stuff. And so I think when if I do show up and do on snow stuff, it's going to be ski centric because that's where
Cool.
that's
Yeah.
where most of the population is. Unfortunately, adaptive snowboard gets like the redheaded stepchild, like in the corner closet type situation.
I ski bike too, by the way. I used to ski back in the day. I probably could still ski if I put them on, but I know I struggled the volunteer lesson I did. I was like, whoa. So I'll stick with snowboarding. I'm more confident there and ski biking as well. So yeah.
Yeah. And ski biking, people ask about ski biking, and I'm just gonna go outright and say it. There will never be a PSIA certification in ski biking because general public, if you can't figure it out in 3 turns, we got some issues.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's a pretty user-friendly
Yeah.
piece of equipment. Yes, there are some logistics.
I saw a snow go one on there though. Did I misread
Yeah.
that?
Yeah,
Okay.
so PSI is like one of their sponsors is SnowGo, so
Yeah.
they do offer like SnowGo. There's a video,
Oh,
like
it's a course. It's not a certification. I beg your pardon. Okay.
yeah, it's just a course, but it's a great course. It's cool. It talks about some different things. It applies to a bunch of things that I recommend the course, but I recommend all education because I think we can always all learn something in some form or fashion, whether it's like I don't want to take a Charley Phalen Zoom clinic again, or whether it's like, dude, like I want to pursue PSI or whatever. Like, sometimes positive, sometimes negative, but you learn something.
Fair enough. Maybe I get back on skis. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And if not, a lot of the information can be just like translated over, like, to a snowboard and, whether it's in the clinic that I do there or like, just hanging out like, hey, what do you do to teach carving? Oh, well, we do this. Okay, cool. Like, what would be the equivalent? Okay, I'm going to be sideways 90 degrees. And okay, well, that would be the equivalent. And again, a big thing, you're a snowboarder, but watch the PSI fundamental Zoom I did. There's a solid hour and a half of very good information on everything that they're going to assess you on in that level 1 in that hour and a half. So if you can like mama bird and regurgitate and throw up all the stuff that's in that level, that Zoom session that I did, you'll be spot on. You'll be good to go for your level 1. Guaranteed.
all good. I'll check it out.
Self-promotion too. Gotta promote the self-knowledge a little bit. Gang, any other questions? I mean, do we feel pretty good about what was talked about and shared in this Zoom session? Yeah. Cool. Gang, if you have like any other questions or anything, reach out to Kim, Camille, reach out to me. You have a ton of resources there at Ski Santa Fe, both in ASP&M and at the ski school. Same with Pajarito. They're both the ski schools, aside from ASP&M, are very supportive and open to a lot of things. So hopefully everything goes good, and I'll send you those dates, Kim, and we'll see if we can if we can get something going. I don't know what days work best for you guys. What days do you run programs right now? Saturday, Sunday, and Wednesday?
Thursday through Sunday.
Thursday through Sunday. So if I
Yeah.
can pick up like a Thursday through Sunday day somewhere in that Valentine's Day weekend or Valentine's Day dates, that might work for you.
Yeah, give me the dates that you're available and I'll share it with everyone and see if we can put together a clinic or something.
Yeah, yeah. And the only thing I would need, like, a volunteer, that's fine. I would need a lift ticket,
We can manage that.
which I think could be managed.
Yeah, I
Lots of
got you.
chocolates for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, yeah, and some hard candy things that have little notes on them. Gang, with that being said, if you don't have any other questions for me, I'm gonna get out of this adaptive shed and carry on with my life. But I hope to see you guys. If I don't see you on snow, have a good season. If you have questions about anything, reach out to me. And I'm bummed that this was our last Zoom session because this is the third one that I did, and I loved every one of them. They were all super fun for me as well.
Thank you so much, Charlie. We really appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Okay, gang.
Good night.
Good night.